During our darkest days, God will hold us in the hollow of his hand.
Footage. Here in Italy, thousands of people have been protesting the country's green pass. The pass requires either proof of vaccination, a negative test within the past 48 hours, or proof of prior infection within the past 6 months. Now, this is for any and all international travel, indoor restaurants, theaters, and gyms. In early September, it was extended to long-distance train rides, buses and ferries, domestic flights, and parents entering school.
God feels like a curse to me, and it hurts to see this coach in shambles.
And parents entering schools.
Now it's been extended to every single worker in the country of both private and public businesses. At times, the protesters have turned violent as they've stormed the headquarters of Italy's largest labor union. The protesters then headed towards the prime minister's office, where they were met with water cannons and tear gas. Nancy Pelosi actually happened to be in Rome visiting the country's leaders when chaos from the protests broke out, and the speaker and her husband actually had to be whisked from a church that they were visiting to safety.
Feel the pain as it leaves my mouth. I'm shedding gangster tears, man, I'm crying out. And if
these protests have been going on for weeks. Now in Italy is showing no signs of letting up, despite the fact over 80% of the population is vaccinated. In Switzerland, people must show a COVID certificate, which grants a person access to indoor bars, restaurants, large gatherings, including weddings and train rides, and even checking into some hotels if they've been fully vaccinated. For the past 6 weeks, thousands of Swiss citizens have taken to the streets to protest the mandates, while police have shot off water cannons and rubber bullets. Amsterdam has seen widespread protests, with people carrying signs that read, "QR is going too far" and "Unvaccinated lives matter." Reports say some protesters were even displaying faux gallows. The Netherlands has implemented a COVID pass that restricts Dutch citizens from entering restaurants, bars, and other select indoor spaces unless they show their pass. And the Dutch government was going to require the pass for even outdoor dining terraces, but the pushback over the past couple of months has caused them to scrap those plans. Israel sparked widespread protest after the country announced their third booster shot is required for their green pass to be valid. In order to be considered fully vaccinated and allowed into most indoor venues, Israelis must show proof of 3 shots or show proof of 2 doses within the past 6 months. Once 6 months have passed from the second dose, a person must get the third or their pass becomes inactivated. France has been seeing non-stop protests for some time now, even before COVID, when yellow vests took to the streets every weekend for months on end. Now the protests are over vaccine mandates, which require people to show a COVID passport to enter any restaurants, cafes, other indoor venues, and even ride public transportation. Luxembourg citizens protested their version of a COVID pass in what they called a marche blanche, where protesters were dressed in all white, carrying white balloons. The new mandate, which takes effect November 1st, excludes the ability to test negative using a low-cost at-home test. Instead, citizens will be required to show either proof of vaccination or get tested professionally at a facility. Thousands of Greek citizens have been taken to the streets for the past few months to protest the country's COVID passports and mandates. Some healthcare workers are required by law to be vaccinated, and Greek citizens who are fully vaccinated are issued freedom passports, which allow them unrestricted access to anywhere they want to go. Romanians have also been protesting against COVID passports. Thousands of people took to the streets in a massive display with signs that read, "Freedom without certificates." Slovenians were met with water cannons during their protests. Thousands of people are angry over their country's vaccine passports to enjoy a normal life. And Australia is a whole other story. I could do an entire segment on just what's been happening there. But the long and short of it in regards to protests is people are not only targeted with water cannons and rubber bullets, but their police are actually beating them with batons, and they're being met with other violence. But here in the United States, leave it to the New Yorkers to express their outrage. The city implemented a strict digital COVID passport system for those fully vaccinated and for those who have tested negative. Unlike the countries in Europe, New York City will not accept proof of previous infection. People need to show the digital pass in order to enjoy the, quote, spoils of the city, as Mayor Bill de Blasio put it. So it's really interesting, all of these protests that have been going on around the world. We haven't really seen these in the news.
I'm shedding gangster tears, man, I'm crying out. And if life's all a game, I'm just trying out. So if heaven got a ghetto, I could die right now. Die right now. You could feel the pain as it leaves my mouth. I'm shedding gangster tears.